You might not have noticed it yet, but some NFL quarterbacks have revealed themselves to be zombies. Oh, sure, they want you to believe they're full-fledged humans like you and me, but don't trust them. Okay, so I should probably explain what a zombie quarterback is. A zombie QB is essentially a Walking Dead starter, a signal caller who, whether it's because of his contract or because the team just doesn't have a better option right now, is in a starting position currently, but their teams may be re-evaluating the decisions they made over the summer. Does that make sense? Does that justify this gimmick? Either way, it's too late now. The infection has already spread. Keep a lookout, protect your brains, and let's get into the zombie quarterbacks of 2023. First up is Josh Dobbs, who is the quintessential zombie quarterback. Read any piece of Arizona Cardinals media over this past week and it's clear. The hero of this horror movie in Kyler Murray can't come soon enough to relinquish his undead counterpart. But oh, did he have us tricked for a second, myself included. I've always liked Dobbs. I thought he had solid skills and carried himself with a polished, team-first demeanor. But then the Cards beat the Dallas Cowboys in Week 3, with Dobbs going 17 for 21 for 189 yards, a touchdown, no picks, and a 120 passer rating. Voices around the league wondered, wait, is this guy actually a starter? And it wasn't totally crazy. Between weeks 2 and 4, Dobbs posted the 7th best passer rating in the league of 106.1. He was playing well and keeping games close, at least in the first half. It seemed like this team had the potential to string together a couple full games and play spoiler to teams with much higher expectations. But then the past few weeks happened, and it seems the clock may have struck midnight and Dobbs has turned into a pumpkin. Throughout the past 3 weeks, Dobbs has averaged a passer rating of 61.3, which ranks 31st in the league, above only the likes of Jordan Love, Brian Hoyer, and PJ Walker. After masquerading as one of the surprise teams in the league, the Cardinals sit at 1-6, basically where we all expected them to be. And Dobbs is likely limping his way back into the graveyard of backup quarterbacks you'd love to have on your team that you're fine seeing start a couple games here and there to give the group a chance, but one that ultimately isn't a starter. Dobbs himself seems to know this too. Recently, when asked about how he prepares with Kyler Murray now getting reps, he had a quote that's funny to read because it almost seems like a canned backup quarterback answer, but then he remembers halfway through that he's actually starting. He said, "As we know and have talked about, I've seen every side of this quarterback thing. I come in, work hard, prepare, get ready. Well, I'm starting of course, but prepare that as if I am the starter, and then if I'm not the starter, preparing as if I'm going to start." It's all just kind of a little mumbo jumbo, but maybe one day we'll see Dobbs rise from the dead again. But for now, it would appear we're only weeks away until he's back into the ground. Next, let's talk about Daniel Jones. The only thing keeping Daniel Jones alive, rather than a taste for brains, is the 4-year, $160 million contract he signed this offseason. After an impressive quasi-breakout year with the Giants last season, Jones has regressed in nearly every statistical category and ranks last in quarterback rating this season. He's matched his interception total over all of last year in just 5 starts with 6, and 4 of those picks this season came in the short, middle part of the field where Jones was fantastic in 2022. This is a major issue for a guy who found success with the lowest average depth of target to help get his team to the playoffs and who remains the shortest thrower in their league this year too. A weird place for a guy to be who came into the league nicknamed Danny Dimes and got on the map for his ability to throw the deep ball. Plus, for all the attention Sam Howell has gotten for his sacks this year, DJ isn't too far behind him. His 28 in 5 games is only a 1/10 of a sack less per game than Howell, and his sack rate is actually 3 percentage points higher. No doubt, this has plenty to do with Jones' style of play as a scrambler and the fact New York's offensive line grades out as the worst pass blocking unit according to Pro Football Focus. But PFF's pressure to sack percentage, which attempts to assign some blame to quarterbacks for the sacks they take, has him ranked second at 30.8, just behind Howell's 33.1%. Those sacks and interceptions in the short part of the field point to Jones' slower decision-making process this year. And those struggles of his game have only been amplified after he was replaced by Tyrod Taylor as the starter in the past 2 games following a neck injury he suffered in Week 5 against the Miami Dolphins. Taylor has impressed the New York faithful with his ability to move the ball better with the offense to the tune of an average of 336 total yards over 2 games versus Jones's 255.2 over 5. Now, to be clear, there is not, nor should there be, a quarterback controversy in New York between them. Even Brian Daboll has said as much, even if he initially gave a non-answer to the question many people read into. But someone being a starter this year doesn't mean they'll automatically be a starter next year, even if they signed a multi-year contract. As it's been reported, Jones's contract suffers from the same agent media fluff that so many other NFL contracts do. In reality, his 4-year deal is really more of a 2-year deal with no guaranteed money beyond the 2024 season. New York wants Daniel Jones to be their quarterback. They think he gives them a high offensive ceiling and has already shown an ability to succeed in the playoffs, even if it was against a fraudulent 13-4 Minnesota Vikings team. But Daboll and staff know that an ability to consistently win will ultimately decide who they go with as their QB1 in the seasons to come. So far, Jones has had one good year. One where he showed dynamic ability as a runner and a game manager quarterback, sure, but it's still just 1 year. It's looking more like an outlier as opposed to who Jones actually is. As it stands, I view Jones as the zombie that the Giants have let into their home, and now they must choose to either run away from him, a difficult task considering he's pretty damn fast, or hope to stop the infection. And there's plenty of reason to believe New York has the antidote. Whether it's Saquon Barkley's return after being out for Jones's last 3 games, or the offensive line finally starting to stabilize, it's not crazy to think Jones would have fared better than Taylor in his games given those factors. Still, for someone that this Giants seemingly put a lot of trust into, he's starting to look awfully green. Make no mistake, even though he's made some money, this year is still very much a prove-it year for Danny Dimes. Alright, I guess we have to talk about Deshaun Watson. How much longer are you going to keep playing this game with him? While some of the more athletic parts of his game remain intact, almost everything about him just looks lethargic and slow. He's late to throws, late to decisions, holds the ball for too long, and just looks disengaged. His passing game resembles that of a classic zombie, limping towards you, moaning and groaning, begging to be put out of its misery. The kind you see in a movie and laugh to your friends saying, "If that thing was chasing me, I'd just outrun it." Among the 34 quarterbacks who have started 10 games or more over the past 2 seasons, Watson ranks 31st in passer rating, only above Davis Mills, Kenny Pickett, and Zach Wilson, and just below, who else but Baker Mayfield. So, while the new Browns may have finally won a playoff game a couple seasons ago, it would seem the curse is still very much alive in Cleveland. Cue the "if you brought this storyline to Hollywood, they'd laugh you out of the room" soundbite. The Browns obviously hope Watson can return to who he was throughout the first 5 years in Houston, but that perennial Pro Bowl quarterback is looking more and more like a ghost by the day. Unlike the other guys on this list, Watson is someone I do not root for to turn his season around. While I could outline my frustrations with Cleveland's quarterback and how this entire situation unfolded, I'd rather highlight this section of Nora Princiota's excellent Ringer article on what is going on with this guy and the team around him. She writes, "Watson is a franchise quarterback on a huge contract with a nagging injury who's not playing well, which would be a tricky situation for any NFL team. But he's not any quarterback on a huge contract with a nagging injury who's not playing well. He is a franchise quarterback who was sued by more than 20 women who said Watson committed sexual misconduct during massage therapy appointments, behavior that the NFL investigated and called egregious and predatory. The Browns made a deal with the devil when they brought Watson in, and rather than a quarterback, they received a zombie. A zombie that, even if they wanted to, they don't really have the option to bench. Whether it's all the money tied to him or the reputations that Cleveland's decision makers put on the line, the Browns essentially have to keep starting the guy and just hope and pray that somehow, some way, he turns into the guy he was 3 years ago. The story gets even more complicated when you factor in Watson's rotator cuff injury and the concussion but not a concussion that caused him to leave the game in Week 7 against the Indianapolis Colts. Was last year's poor performance just rust? And is this year's just the injuries? Who knows? Either way, it would seem Watson will continue stinking up the joint, rotting flesh and all, while commentators talk around what led to his suspension and subsequent re-entry into the league for the foreseeable future. but if his 10 games over the past 2 seasons are any indication, Watson is not a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL anymore. And lastly, let's talk about Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson has been dead for a while now. And look, it's not lost on me that he's been the quarterback for a team that's miraculously found themselves at 3-3 despite losing Aaron Rodgers, the guy the entire system was built around 4 snaps into the season. Or the fact that he legitimately outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the Jets' Week 4 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night. Wilson should be extremely proud of how resilient he's been in the face of non-believers like myself. He has absolutely reclaimed some dignity after disaster of a season last year, and nobody can take that away from him. But do we think any team in the league would choose him as their first choice to be their starting quarterback? Even though a lot of parts of Wilson's game have improved this year, Wilson still grades out as the 30th best quarterback according to PFF and leads the 30th best offense from a yards per game perspective, despite having Garrett Wilson and a solid run game built around Breece Hall. The Jets have essentially put the offense into hazmat suits in the hope Wilson won't infect the entire team and beat them himself. Only, it's limited their ability to move the ball consistently. This group ranks 31st in first downs per game with just 15. The impressive wins that get attributed to him were really more a function of Josh Allen melting down on opening night and the Eagles having a meltdown themselves as the Jets defense took advantage of it. Let's just say it's hard to lose when you win the turnover battle 4-1 or 4-0. While there's no sense in piling on the guy, there's also no need to believe he's anything more than a backup at this point. Even though the Jets do appear to be riding with him, as their only move post-Aaron Rodgers injury was signing backup Trevor Siemian, don't let this fool you into thinking Wilson isn't a zombie quarterback. He isn't just the guy who is only as good as the team around him. In most games, he actively makes the sum of the team's parts equal less. And for that, he can't be anything other than a dead man walking in 2023. I can't imagine him landing anywhere other than the sideline next year. And before we end, I wanted to give a few honorable mentions to guys that I considered for this video, but it didn't feel totally sincere to give them the zombie label. Mac Jones, for example, has been pretty zombie-like this year, but a recent big game comeback against the Buffalo Bills had me reconsidering if he could finally recapture some of the success he found in his rookie year. Plus, his sophomore season blowout, where he was coached by 2 defensive guys, is just so easy to excuse. Another guy is Desmond Ridder, who just keeps upping the ante with turnovers. If he's not throwing interceptions, then he's fumbling it on the 1-yard line. But the Falcons really believe in him, and the guy is improving every week and has this team sitting atop the NFC South with a 4-3 record. Arthur Smith would say I was part of the groupthink, and I like both his offensive scheme and mustache too much to potentially get on his bad side. Russell Wilson is another easy target, but he's played better this season, and even if he isn't Chef Russ anymore, I think a lot of teams would see value in him if he was made available again, which could honestly be sooner rather than later. This season isn't the end of the road for him, but it's definitely cemented the fact that he is no longer part of the elite tier of quarterbacks anymore. He's more mid-range at best. And lastly, there's Derek Carr. To me, he's a quarterback that just feels bitten, but there's a chance the infection won't spread. The New Orleans Saints are hoping as much. It's been 2 down years in a row where many of his metrics are regressing and nearing his rookie season numbers. I don't think this is the end of the line for Carr, but he's certainly not doing anything for his stock. Let's see how long these guys make it and where their position in quarterback rankings and in different organizations transform throughout the rest of this year. One of my favorite things about following the league is how quickly things can change. Guys who are meant to be solutions for several years are suddenly problems, or who we thought had something in the tank are suddenly on E. Keep an eye out for these zombie quarterbacks. It might not be long until we see the disaster contained on the sideline. Except for Deshaun Watson. Cleveland is screwed with Deshaun Watson. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to give it a like if you did enjoy it, and consider subscribing to Football Doesn't Matter so you can catch the next one. Thanks. Bye.